As I am going through therapy, I am learning that silence does not always mean strong faith, or strong faith is not a marker for silent struggle. And so I have understood that these things that I keep inside, or things that I fear to speak about, or things that I have given power because I have no definition of these things. So I categorize them in the space of strong faith. What do I mean? In the sense that because I don't know how to describe this thing that I am going through, my strong faith will come in place and it will teach me how to deal with it. But I realize that I am working in the reverse, because strong faith is not a marker for silent struggle. The time where this statement really made sense for me is when I decided to leave my marriage, is because I understood that strong faith truly is not a representation of silent struggle. Sometimes you can be struggling in silence, sometimes you can be putting things on hold, or sometimes you can just be keeping quiet when you're getting hurt. Because what? Because your strong faith says you need to go to your knees and pray. Your strong faith says that you shouldn't share these things with anyone. Your strong faith says that you can handle this with God. Your strong faith says that because God is aware things are going to work out. Your strong faith tells you that you can be able to, or you're supposed to shrink yourself to the level of whatever it is that you're going through. It could be that you have the fear of being heard, or fear of being judged, or fear of being misunderstood. So because you have this fear, you categorize it as strong faith, and then you choose to remain silent. Then what happens? In your silence, you end up suffering mentally, emotionally, or physically. My name is Jane. Welcome to Make an Impression. I created this space because I really just want to help women who are struggling with fear overcome it, so that they can live their lives through faith and bold action. Let's dive into today's conversation. As a lot of you guys know, or those of you who are following me on Instagram, you know that I have been going through therapy. And in one of the therapy sessions, my therapist helped me understand that strong faith is not necessarily silent struggle. The reason why I'm starting this conversation like this is because I know personally, for me, things that I have not been able to explain, or things that I find hard to deal with, I've always put them in the category of strong faith. So, for example, I would say that my strong faith should help me get through this, or I will not fight this, or I will not speak about this. Why? Because my strong faith, in quotes, is going to help me deal with the situation. And what she helped me understand is that silence does not always mean you're mature, or is not a representation of maturity. Sometimes silence is a representation of fear, a fear of being seen, or fear of being judged. And let me tell you, girl, it's not easy. It's not easy. But I am learning that strong faith does not necessarily equate to suffering in silence, because strong faith means that you understand that God's intention for you as a woman is not to live in pain, is not to live in silence, is not to live in trauma, is not to live in all these things, because your strong faith should be able to help you stick in an identity that cannot be shaken, an identity that is defined by who God says you are, and not what you're going through. I know I ramble a lot about identity, but do you know why I do that? Because as I am going through therapy, I understand that my decision to walk away from my marriage was not because I think it was finally because I understood that there was, my strong faith is not really a marker for suffering in silence. So sometimes you might be going through things that are hard, and because they are difficult and you don't know what to define them as, you decide to say, my strong faith is going to take care of this thing. My strong faith means I need to keep silent. My strong faith means I need to deal with this on my own. My strong faith means that I don't need to be a chatterbox and go out there and talk about what I'm going through. And sometimes that's why I don't I agree with them. ideals or with the lessons that we get from church, because that is why we have so many cases of women committing suicide, or of women getting into depression, or of women of faith just carrying so much burdens. Because why? You're told that your strong faith means you need to keep quiet when you're suffering. Your strong faith tells you that you need to accommodate everyone, you need to be long suffering, you need to do all these things. And so what happens is that you end up being so accommodative that now you don't even have a definition for what you're going through. So because you've constantly stuck on this faith that keeps being drawn every single day, at some point you end up giving up on yourself, and that's how you end up being depressed, or probably even worse, committing suicide. I would really like us to change this narrative, because as I am going through understanding this journey of faith, as I am going through my journey of understanding what identity really means, what it means to be rooted in Christ as a woman, what it means to serve God in my capacity, even with all these other responsibilities that God has still honored me with, I am understanding that there's a missing link between our strong faith and between living a healthy life. Because listen, for you to be able to stand in an identity that serves God, in an identity that represents who you are in Christ, your strong faith should not be the marker for silence. Because let me tell you, as I am going through therapy, I am understanding something very interesting. Hey there, before we dive further into the video, I would like to introduce you to our Bold Faith and Authentic Identity workbook. This season for me has been about unlearning who I was told to be and rebuilding who I truly am, rooted, honest, and whole. Many of us were taught identities that sounded spiritual but slowly shrinked us. Be strong even when you're breaking. Stay quiet even when something is wrong. Carry it alone because God understands. But strong faith is in silent struggle, and obedience to God is in self-erasure. That's why I created this workbook. This workbook is not loud. It does not rush you. It does not demand answers you're not ready to give. It offers solace, understanding, and a safe place to rebuild your identity with God without silencing your story or minimizing your pain. It's not about revisiting the past in detail or forcing quick healing. It's about gently peeling back the layers of who you were told to be and rediscovering who you are beneath it all. My desire is that this will help you answer the question, who am I beneath the labels, expectations of others, and survival modes? Inside, you'll find reflective prompts to identify false identities formed through survival, faith-anchored exercises that invite honesty without shame, space to process, pray, and rebuild from a deeper place of truth, gentle guidance for women navigating transition, grief, clarity, or quiet courage. If you're in a season of unlearning, redefining, and choosing truth over endurance, this workbook was created with you in mind. Check out our website www.makeanimpression.org and grab yourself a copy. I do look forward to seeing the transformation that this workbook will do for you. That silence does not always mean maturity. Sometimes it means you have the fear of being heard, or the fear of being judged, or the fear of being seen. And so what happens? You choose the path of silence, which means you end up devastated, you end up overwhelmed, you end up stressed, because you're always thinking, what will people say? What will the church say? What will my community say? What will my family think of me? How about what does God think about the situation that I am in? Because for me, where I have reached, or where I reached, was that if this thing is not God honoring, then what is the point of it? If this thing does not honor God, if every day I get into this space, I am defeated, I am living in anxiety, there is no God honoring thing about it. And so my strong faith should be what I consider should be the marker of the decisions that I make, should be the marker of the things that I decide to do. And that is why when I talk about community, it's very important to also look closely at the community you choose when you're going through these difficult situations. when you're choosing silence, you need to be very careful the community you involve yourself in, the people you choose to open up to, because unfortunately, not all of us have reached that place where we understand the intensity, or the level of pressure or stress that you carry when you're starting to understand your journey towards identity. And that is the reason why I created this workbook. This workbook is not a go-to solution. It is not those things that you just peruse through. It is a book that I created because it's a journey that I am taking you through, the same journey that I understand, the same journey that I have been through, that has helped me get to a point of accepting my identity and who I am in Christ. So this is not a quick solution. It's not a quick fix. It's not, we are bouncing back kind of workbook. It's a workbook that I created from a space of, I had the thought process of, who was I when I was beginning? Who was Jane when I didn't understand my identity? What did I need to walk through? That's basically what I have put in this workbook. I poured out my heart here because I know that there's a journey that you need to walk before you get to a place where you can actually say you're walking in bold faith and you're walking in an identity that pleases God. Because there's things you're going to have to unravel, these things that you're going to have to deal with from a space of starting from the root. I call it starting from the root because everything that bears fruit starts from the root. And starting from the root, there's all these pillars that you need to build slowly by slowly. That's basically what you're going to be getting in this workbook. It has different activities. It has different, fun activities that you can actually do, that you can, as you go through the Bible, as you go through understanding who you are in Christ. This is what this workbook is supposed to help you with. And so I hope that as we start on this journey, of seeing how we can be, uncovering bits and pieces of this workbook and just helping you see how you get to that place of bold faith and identity, how bold faith and action, then where you need to start from and how you need to build. Our faith is supposed to be the foundation of our decision making. It shouldn't be something that comes after the fact. It shouldn't be something that is just thrown in there because you keep saying you're a Christian or because you're raised in a religious community. Faith is where it starts, because the foundation of your faith is what determines how you're going to move forward, is what determines the decisions you're going to make, is what determines how you're going to influence the next person who's learning about faith. You don't want to be careless with such a responsibility, and that's why I'm very careful to teach you guys that you have to start there. The basis of anything that you're building, the basis of your identity is your faith. What does your faith mean? What does it mean to you? How do you understand it? How do you practice it? Why is it important? Because when those things are clear, you're able to now get into an identity that is not shaken by the things that are happening, because we live in this world where things are constantly happening, where we are always, we are being pulled left, right, and center as we are trying to also center ourselves in this thing that we are building. And so if we are not, if the base is not rooted, if it's not rooted, if it is not rooted, it is very easy to fall back into an identity that is not you. Because more often than not, you will find yourself trying to look at what are other people saying. What did people comment, or what did people say about what I'm doing? But when your faith is deeply rooted in Christ, the question that you'll keep asking yourself is, what is God saying about who I'm becoming? What is God saying about what I'm building? What is God saying about this thing, this decision that I am making, this thing that I am holding with my hands? What is God saying about it? So the workbook is going to be available on our website. I'm going to leave the link here. I'm also going to leave it in the description box. You can go on ahead and click, get a copy. I would really, really love to hear from you. And I really hope that this workbook is not just a space. It's not just another book to fill your bookshelf, guys, but you will actually take the practical steps that you need, so that as we walk in this journey of bold faith and identity, we are all working together. We are all understanding the process that we need to go into. We are all understanding why we are saying strong faith is not silent struggle. We are all moving together when we are saying that Sometimes silence can be what? Can be a marker for fear of being seen or fear of being judged and fear of all these things. But we don't want that to be the faith that we profess. We want our faith to be rooted in an identity that cannot be shaken, in an identity that allows us to make sound decisions, in an identity that helps us understand who we are in Christ. That's it for today's conversation. I hope it has blessed you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.